it's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another Vlogmas video. So today I'm going to talk about my top 7 audiobooks for this year. Now this does not mean that these books came out in 2019, it just means that I listened to them in 2019. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. The first audiobook is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin O'Leary Sens. And this follows the story of Aristotle and Dante, who are two loners, and initially they seem to have nothing in common, but as their friendship develops, they find out that they have a lot in common, and they both have things in their past and in their present that helps them bond. And their friendship just blossoms from there. And Lin-Manuel Miranda is actually the narrator for this audiobook, and he does such an amazing job. This book is already phenomenal, and having him as the narrator just puts it at a whole new level. And this book is so beautiful and heartwarming and heartbreaking and everything that I want in a book. I didn't expect to love it like I did. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I was just crying at the end of it because it was just so good. And I highly recommend this. Highly recommend this. I actually let one of my coworkers borrow it. Her son doesn't really like to read, and he saw her reading it, the actual physical book, and he got invested in it, and he had to know what happened, so they kind of read it together, and that just made my heart so happy. So I highly recommend this audiobook. The next audiobook that I listened to and loved was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This should be no surprise to anyone because I talk about this book all the friggin' time. But I won't go too much into this because I do have a spoiler-free review that I will link. But basically it follows Daisy Jones and the band The Six and the story of why they suddenly broke up at the height of their career. And this audiobook actually has a full cast of characters, and it is told, it's an oral history, so it almost sounds like a Rolling Stone type interview, which I think is so cool. And at the end, Taylor Jenkins Reid has actually put the song lyrics in the book. So at the end of the audiobook, the song Honeycomb, which if you've read the book, you know what song I'm talking about, but they have an acoustic version of that song at the end of the audiobook, and it is so beautiful. And I love this book so much that I've read it 3 times this year, and honestly it'll probably be one of the first books I read in January of next year because I love it that much. But everyone I've talked to that has listened to the audiobook has loved it, so definitely go check it out. The next audiobook I want to recommend is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This follows high school student Xiomara, and she lives with very strict religious parents. Xiomara has secrets that she does not want her parents to find out. And she is a poet, and she has a notebook full of poems just with her heart on the page. And one day her poems get out and chaos ensues, and Xiomara has to make some hard choices as well as figure out who she wants to be and if she wants to pursue poetry. And I have loved absolutely every single thing I've read by Elizabeth Acevedo, and she is actually the narrator of this audiobook, and her voice is like butter. Like, it's beautiful. I would listen to her read a grocery list and it would be beautiful. But highly recommend this one. Definitely go check it out. The next audiobooks I want to recommend are actually a series, and that is The Diviners by Libba Bray. This is the original and the best cover. I'm still a little salty about all the cover changes, but it's okay. But this series is set in 1920s New York, and it has paranormal aspects throughout each of the books. But in the first book, it follows the story of Evie O'Neill as well as many other characters, and they become involved in this search for this serial killer that actually turns out maybe someone who died 50 years ago. And it is probably in my top 5 all-time favorite series. The narrator of this is January Lavoie, and she does just a phenomenal job. And her inflections and her nuance and her voices for each character are so distinct. And another reason why this series is amazing is because it has such a diverse cast of characters. There's all sorts of POC rep, backgrounds, religions, disability rep, LGBTQ plus rep. Just probably anything you can imagine is most likely going to be in the series. She does such an excellent job, and the last book is actually coming out in February, which I'm excited about, but heartbroken because that means it's the last book in the series. But I've read and listened to this book I don't know how many times, and I reread it at least once a year because I love it so much. The next book I have is one that I would not normally read, and I found out about it because Roshni Chokshi was talking about how she and I think JC Cervantes got Rick Riordan to read this book, and they were just shocked because of which book it was, and he ended up liking it, which just cracked me up. So that book is Verdi by Colleen Hoover. I listened to this on audiobook, and I read it in 2 sittings. It was that good. So it follows the story of Loan Ashley, and she is a struggling writer, and she is just about to be bankrupt when she meets Jeremy Crawford, the husband of best-selling author Verdi Crawford. And Verdi was in a severe accident, so she's unable to finish writing her series. So Loan is hired to be a ghostwriter to finish Verdi's works. And Loan arrives at the home, and she starts going through Verdi's notebooks and writings to get a sense of, what her writing style is and where she comes from and all that. And she discovers this autobiography that Verdi has written, and it's nuts. And she decides to hide it from Jeremy for the time being. And so the story goes back and forth between us hearing Verdi's autobiography and then present time with Loan. And this book had me on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I did not expect the huge twist at the end. It was so crazy and so satisfying. And I don't normally read this genre, but this is one book that I still think about, and it's just the way it was so well done makes it such a good audiobook for me. So definitely go check it out. And by the way, totally rated R. This is not appropriate for younger readers. The next audiobook I want to recommend is Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. And the reason I'm recommending this is because it is Lauren Graham's memoir from Gilmore Girls to Gilmore Girls. So basically from the start of the series all the way to the revamp of the series, A Year in the Life. And Lauren Graham narrates it, and she does such a phenomenal job. I knew I would like it because I love Gilmore Girls and it's such a nostalgic show for me. And then I ended up just falling in love with it because her writing style is just so easy and welcoming, and her narration, I listened to it on 1.6 speed, I believe, and it sounded like her normal talking voice. FYI. And I loved her stories, and I loved how she makes even mundane things seem so funny or magical. And so I gave it 5 out of 5 stars because I just thought it was so well done and it made me so sentimental, and I just absolutely adored it. And last but not least, I want to recommend another Elizabeth Acevedo audiobook, and that is With the Fire on High. And I won't go too much into the synopsis because I do have a spoiler-free review, which I'll link. But this basically follows single mom, high school student Imani, and she is torn between wanting to do what's best for her family and pursuing her passion for food and for cooking. And once again, Elizabeth Acevedo has such an amazing narration voice, and the life she brings to this character is phenomenal, and I highly recommend. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So have you read any of these audiobooks? If so, did you like them, or do you think you might pick up any of these because of my recommendation? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to talk to you guys about it. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and click on the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.